You're making one right decision today. You're listening to Handcuffs and Sage.
Three badass moms bringing you all the true crime and paranormal your heart desires.
I'm Red.
I'm Timo.
I'm Dre. And don't let your kids listen. Seriously, just don't.
I just heard some weird...
Hey!
Wait. Sorry. I just heard some weird moan, growl sound.
I saw your face and it freaked me out.
Outside. At least I'm upstairs.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Oh, no, it was like, wow. Which is so scary because of what my story is going to be about. So it's like...
Don't do it! I'm not ready.
Okay,
It's
we're recording.
Handcuffs and Sage, you guys. How you doing?
Hey.
This is Red.
This is Timo.
And this is Dre.
And I'm standing outside Timo's apartment with my stomach growling, and she can hear me.
Oh, man.
You hear some growling?
Yeah, I heard a growl out there. I mean, I live in a condo complex, and it's like spread out. It's not one big building. It's like 6-unit buildings, and there's like 50 units. It's widespread. So people walk around like it's a little town, and shit goes on all the time. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
it
someone
never
was
sleeps.
Out there. Yeah.
It's like Vegas over there.
I know. It's so weird.
For sure.
It's so really cute. I love that place.
It is cute.
Yeah.
And everyone's like friends with each other, which is really nice. Yeah. My neighbors, I'm about to lose my shit.
Oh,
I don't know what to do.
The partiers?
I think I've brought oh my God. I think I've mentioned this before, but if I haven't, I'm still stuck in this place where I have these neighbors and they party all the time. And I know that sounds like I'm really super old, but the problem is they have this little dog, and this little dog never stops barking. And when they go out of town, I don't know what situation they've got rolling, but this little dog has like a dog door. So it's outside. And it's like right next to our window, and we hear this barking until like 4 or 5 in the morning. It like never tires. It's like a baby with colic, right? It just cries and cries and barks and barks. And last night I didn't sleep at all. And I just feel like this has been going on for years. And what do I do? Right? Do I send my hubby over there and be like, hey, give her the dog? I don't know what we do.
I don't know.
All right.
Awful.
So as a dog owner who, like, me and my husband both have to leave when it's not like quarantine time, I have a boxer who is like the sweetest little baby, and he gets really lonely. He's like super sad all the time. He can't wait for us to get home. So like we've hired like dog walkers and all this kind of shit, right?
Yes.
All of it. And we, instead of getting like a knock on the door saying like, hey, wondering what's going on with your dog, I got like a nasty letter, like a very nasty letter from the neighbor that's like not behind me, and then to the right.
Rude.
Like, so
you have a
really?
Karen?
Yes. And it's bad. So warned me about it, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know where you live. I had no clue. She just signed it. I'm like, who are you? So then I tried to find her on Nextdoor, and I wrote her like this very long explanation.
Freaking Nextdoor, the drama never ends.
And so like not even like a week later, I got a notification from the dog pound or saying if they got another noise ordinance complaint, it was going to be like $200 and $300, upwards of $500. So I would have really appreciated her to just knock on the door and have a freaking conversation, right? So I say, go knock on the door, have a conversation. They probably have a reason, and if they don't, then you can complain.
I'm sorry, Dre, let's take a moment here. Are you saying that people should talk face to face and communicate and work out the issue? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if we can do that. I mean, we'll talk about it, but I mean, it's just so frustrating. That's all. It's been going on for years, and it's frustrating. We've never said anything, but the other neighbors and us are like fed up.
Yeah.
Fed up.
Somebody
And I
should talk
love
to them.
dogs. I have 2
Mhm.
dogs. I
Yeah.
love the puppies. This dog is driving me nuts. So
Yeah.
that's my issue of the week. I didn't sleep at all last night, and then I worked today, and work blows. So, but I'm glad that we're podcasting. It always puts me in a better mood.
Dang.
Yay!
It totally gives me something to look forward to too. So yeah, it's like it's like our therapy. It makes me fucking sane, man.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
talk through the week, what's going on. I think a lot of people, I know that I do this, is I will like isolate myself during times when I, maybe I'm feeling depressed or whatever. I will then isolate myself more. So if people don't hear from me, that's when they're like, what's going on? What's up? Right? But it's really good to talk about your week and talk about your frustrations. And I think when we talk to sometimes, I know for me, like with my husband, men are fixers, right? So they don't want to hear about anything they can't fix.
Right.
Right. When women, we just need to listen. We just need to say it and just kind of identify and say, yeah, I get you, girl. Right. I get that.
Right.
So I think it's good that we do this once a week and just kind of share whatever's going on. I think it's good for us. Good for the soul.
Absolutely.
So before we get on to our little thing, I've been gardening a lot. I've been using that as therapy. So a couple weeks ago, I Rock from our Down the Rabbit Hole episodes wife, who we all know, gave me a bunch of like clippings, like basically like stumps with like succulents, and I planted.
What did you bury?
Was it a
I'm
finger
on
or
to
a
you now. I'm on to you.
I know. I've been watching
You
too
see
much
me with the
Unsolved.
shovel show up, and I'm digging that succulent
Are they-
garden.
I've been
Are they
watching too much
exotic
Unsolved.
succulents? So like nobody would ever dare. Did you guys see that meme?
Yeah.
Next time you bury a body, plant it underneath some exotic plants.
Oh my gosh.
You can't touch these plants. They're exotic.
Where I was gonna say buried again. Where I planted
No.
This is a safe space, Timo. If you murdered someone, I'm gonna totally rat you out and turn you in.
It's only like maybe like a little. It's like a little 3-foot like square, so it's not even like big enough to put a body.
It's just the teeth.
It's not big enough.
So, anyways, it gets a lot of fucking sun, and I have some bright ass sun on that. It just burns, and my succulents are getting sunburned, and that's an actual thing. Like they get these like little brown burn spots. Yeah.
I burned mine this week.
No.
I have to figure out how to put shade there. So I've been like checking all the, websites, DIYing, and I'm gonna try and be creative tomorrow. Oh, and my little lamp thingy that I made, they're all sunburned. Like, they're not gonna root, and
Don't
they're
you
gonna
feel
come
so
crashing down.
bad?
I know, it's like breaks my heart because I put
did
so
that
much
to
heart
my
and soul.
plant this week, and I feel so bad.
I know.
I feel terrible about it. They turned all red.
Yeah. So I got some dowels. I got some covering. So I'm gonna try and make like a shade tent kind of thing.
A little succulent home.
Oh, we'll see.
You're safe here, succulents.
I'll send you pictures, but like, I would just hate for them to just die off. You know what I mean? I'm just like, but they
I
were.
heard they will come back.
Yeah, but
they haven't interested.
But they haven't rooted. That's the thing. They were clippings. So if they die before they root, they're gonna die. They're not gonna root and grow. So we'll see. We'll see.
Positive vibes.
Yeah, positive.
Your succulents will survive.
Yeah, but I did buy one of those little like stabby things that you put in your garden with like a sign or whatever. Like they say
when you're burying a body, you get one of those stabby things.
Yeah,
I think everyone knows what you're saying right now, Timo.
I got it tonight. I went to Hobby Lobby and they're having this big sale. Anyways, I spent way too much money that I don't have, but it says plant lady lives here or something like that, and that's totally me. I got
Plant
I'm not the
lady.
crazy cat lady. I'm the crazy succulent lady because literally I bought more succulents. Oh God, I have a problem. I
Oh
have a
no.
problem. Yes, I have to
I love
buy
it.
a plant stand to put on my patio, so I have space to put my succulents. Oh, good Lord. So that's my
funny.
yeah.
Out of control.
But it's
That's okay.
cheaper than regular therapy, you guys. It's literally
Yes.
cheaper than regular therapy.
Yeah.
Are
and
you
it's my
enjoying
therapy.
it?
I am enjoying it, and it
Does it
That's
hurt
awesome.
anyone?
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
it's all good.
the people that she's burying a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
The people she's burying, it hurts them the most.
yes,
But
yes.
it's good for you. So we
Yes, right.
support. Support
Absolutely.
and love.
Yay.
All right, I have a quick PSA. Well, I don't think anybody knows, but I went to June Lake, had an awesome time. Anyway,
Yay.
so much fun.
Yay!
I
love
will
that
do it
you went.
again. Yes.
Mhm.
And the best part was that I think somebody canceled the Boulder Lodge room that we got because it wasn't there the day before, and I procrastinated as I usually do. And when I looked, it was like a 2-bedroom suite with the kitchenette, and it was like
Yeah, girl.
right in my price range. Dude, the view was phenomenal. I was
was
like
meant
on the
to
second
be.
floor.
Yes.
Beautiful. It was so pretty.
Cool.
But my PSA for today is, look, guys, if you're sick, if you have a fever, if you're coughing, stay the fuck home. Do not come to my clinic like I had a patient do, and lie to the screeners and lie to the person checking you in, and then suddenly confess to the nurse that's like 2 inches from your face and say, I feel like shit, and I've been coughing,
No.
and I have body aches all over. What the fuck?
No.
Please stay home. Like, this was my day, and that's not okay.
That's
no.
so shady, Dre. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Ew.
I'm
Did you
like,
guys hear it?
stay home.
Did you guys hear about the bubonic plague?
No. What?
Yeah. I guess that's
Is
the
this a
thing now.
joke?
No.
Oh,
Don't you get that from rats?
yeah.
I don't know what you
Yeah.
have to do to those rats, Tino.
I think you get
the
bit
bubonic
by the
plague
fleas.
is in China right now.
Oh no! You
Yeah,
know why?
Articles came out about it.
You know why? Because everyone was on quarantine and the rats went nutso, and then it's the fleas on the rats, and then the flea bites you, and then you get it. So
You
New York
die.
is next because their rats are out of control. So
That
great.
is true. I guess it hasn't been around for like 600 years, and it looked at the calendar. It saw, 2020, everything else is going off. Let's go off. And so I got a million articles today from different people about it, just like spiking my anxiety. So all day I'm like, do I have the B or do I have the Rona? B? Corona. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought it was like end of days, and I didn't know that Newport Beach had high tide or whatever that thing was. But
I saw that.
Of like Newport Beach, like going, like, it looked like a tsunami. It was insane.
Yes.
I was like,
sure. Yeah.
oh shit, it's end of days. And then they were like, nah, this happens every year.
Yeah.
What?
I did not know that, and that makes me sad,
neither.
Newport. Oh, the one thing that Newport has to deal with is high tide. All the beautiful people. Give me a break.
Right.
You guys, I'm super duper stoked because this story I'm doing is insane.
Oh man,
It's so crazy.
Will we know of it?
I'm not.
I think a lot of people have heard of this.
Okay.
But do you know what I know? Oh
no,
honey. Oh no, honey.
Never.
Oh my gosh. And I do have to say beforehand, I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place, because even though I am a professional, my notes are all over the place. I wish you guys could see this chicken scratch. So buckle up. Y'all buckle up. We're about to go on a journey. We are talking about the toy box killer.
What?
Say what?
What?
You guys,
I don't know what this
one is
so.
bananas.
Okay, cool.
So upsetting. So I do want to say again, if you have any children in the room, you need to escort them out of the room. because this ain't for play. This is for mommy daddy time. Okay. We don't talk about toy box killer with the kids in the room. Okay. I wouldn't even have my kids in the room, and I'm a terrible parent, and I just let them do whatever. So, so
No,
this is the,
go ahead.
Thank you. I know. So the toy box killer. Okay. I just like can't get over that I'm doing this story. I'm just giddy. Okay. So David Parker Ray was born November 6th, 1939. His parents were Cecil and Nettie Ray. Cecil was his father, and Cecil, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he was a terrible father. Okay. He was a raging alcoholic. He was violent. We hear this a lot with serial killers about their childhood, and we do. We hear about parents being neglectful, alcoholics, violent. His father would like visit the kids and the mom like every 6 months because he was working away. I guess maybe that's a good thing that he was gone so much. But when he did take the time to stop by and say, "What's up, kids?" He didn't leave a good father figure behind. He would give David pornographic magazines, but not like regular porn, like think like magazines under the bed, right? Like we grew up in the 80s. We all know about the under the bed magazines. We're talking about BDSM magazines. So to a very young child. So I wonder if that affected him. I don't know. We'll do a deep dive into that. Okay. So Nettie finally got sick of Cecil being a terrible parent, and she took the kids and they moved in with her sister. And Nettie was not a good mother either. It said that she drank. There wasn't a lot said about her, but it just seemed like she was kind of neglectful, maybe some drug use, but there isn't a lot of information on her side. But they did stay with her sister, and the sister kind of took over watching the kids. But she did not do a good job. And she also was very neglectful towards David. So I don't feel like David ever got a childhood or an upbringing where he felt loved, cared for, right? And the aunt would watch the kids and then really would watch David. And when they were alone, the aunt would make David have sex with her.
Ew.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
So also, could this contribute to what he does in later years? I'm going to say probably yes, for sure, 100%. One of the things that she would do is she would also make him partake in like sexual fantasies with her and make him hurt her. So she was into like the BDSM thing. And you hear something talked about, which is called escapism. Have you guys ever heard of escapism? It's a thing that people say, is BDSM related, right? That you enjoy this kind of sexual play because it gives you time to kind of mentally detach from your everyday life, whatever you're dealing with. So then you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the pain you're enduring in that moment. So it almost gives people relief. I think BDSM is fine for 2 consenting adults. Have fun with it. Have at it. I'm going to say maybe not your nephew, and incest is a no-no. Okay?
Gross.
For all of those people out there listening and disagree, don't message us. I don't care. Okay? So in the 1950s, David and his sister Peggy went and lived with their grandmother. Their grandmother was not very loving or caring, isn't that nice, and was very strict and very neglectful. So again, another situation they're in where they're not being taken care of. Their mom is now gone. They think probably due to drugs, you know, and when they see their dad, he's getting all these like pornographic things thrown at him. So it's not a good situation at all. So when David had time alone, he liked to go to scrap yards and look for engines. And he was actually really good at putting engines together. He seemed to have a knack for this. He was very gifted in this way. And around this time, living with the grandma, you know, kind of spending a lot of time with himself, he started journaling. Now, I think journaling is really good. Journaling at night, kind of talking about the day or kind of what you're going through, I think can be very therapeutic. David would talk about his sexual fantasies in his journal. Okay. And this started when he was 10 years old.
Wow.
At 10 years old, he was writing in his journal about how he would have these fantasies about raping girls with like broken beer bottles, right? Yeah, yes. And something that he did throughout his entire life was keep journals, but he would never use names. He would put years, dates, maybe locations, but never names. So that's something to remember, okay? So in 1956, he took his first captive. It was a 15-year-old girl. We know this from the journals, the same age as David, so they're both 15. He said that they kind of went out together in the woods and they decided to pretend like he was raping her because that's a fun game. And he tied her between two trees and kind of like played with her, and he put in his journal that she really enjoyed it. But who knows, right? This could have been a really bad situation for her. We don't know, and we don't know what her name is, okay? But 15 years old. Oh, awful. Just awful. It gets worse. Don't worry.
Right.
Giving me nightmares.
Oh, honey, we have not even begun this journey, okay? So in 1956, he had his first kidnapping. In his notes, he had a rating system, 1, 2, and 3, and 1 was very pretty, so she got a 1. She was very pretty. He had kidnapped her and kept her for a weekend in a tent out in the woods. This was a 16-year-old girl. He raped her, and they're wondering if this was actually his first murder, because he was kind of new to all of this, but wanted to experiment. So they think that he, you know, would stab her and cut her, but because he was new to all of this, that maybe she bled out and was buried in New Mexico. So we don't know. Again, no names, which is very frustrating. So in 1956, he moved in with his other grandparents, and this was in high school, and he was very short for his age. He was only 5'6", and he really got bullied. And I just feel so sick about this, because here he has 2 terrible parents, terrible grandparents, and his aunt, you know, is doing whatever to him. And then he has no escape at school. He's getting bullied at school. And a lot of the kids at school said he was very shy and very quiet. You know, if a girl ever tried to talk to him, his face would turn red, like almost like with embarrassment. And these bullies would steal his scooter from him, and they would ride it around in front of him and like hit like rocks and stuff so he could watch his scooter getting messed up. And he would never like stick up for himself, right? So studies have shown, and I thought this was kind of interesting, that rapists who murder, so there's rapists, right? There's people that rape, and then there's rapists who murder, and they have a higher chance to be seen in, you know, peer groups as being very lonely, quiet, shy, withdrawn. So do these things mean someone's going to grow up to be a rapist and murderer? know. But that is something that they all kind of have in common, that at that age, they're not seen as a threat, right? They're seen as being very meek and shy, really, because they're going to explode at some point, right?
Right.
So in 1957, David is in high school. And he's journaling everything that's going on. And in one of the journal things that he put, it just said 1957. There's like no other like date or name. But he put an abduction, rape, BLM cave. So this was like a mining cave kind of nearby. And it was very secluded. This was a very like secret spot. So he took someone there and raped this person. And in his journal entries, it looks like he had an accomplice. This accomplice's name was Shirley. In the journal, it said, Shirley helped me experiment, right? So then they're thinking, you know, did this victim survive? We don't have a name, but they look back and there was no like police report or anything like that. So they don't know if this victim survived or not, or maybe just never said anything to anyone, which is very common, right? Girls get assaulted all the time and don't say anything. So then another journal entry, it's put that there was a 20-year-old college student that they brought to the cave. Shirley helped with this kidnapping, and we're wondering if Shirley kind of has tendencies the same as David. Is she like a sadist, right? Is she like, are they enjoying doing this together, right? So maybe Shirley was friends with this victim. Maybe they were like drinking, maybe doing drugs. And Shirley said, look, if you're like nervous about doing any of this, let's go to this cave. It's very secluded, right? And then when this college student got there, they tied her up. And she knew immediately she had been set up by Shirley, which is just awful, right? And then they brought out these tools. So something that we see throughout David's life is he liked to make the tools that he used to torture people, which is awful.
Oh no.
So they brought out tools, needles, fish hooks.
Oh God.
And and they, hold on to your butts, we're all going to get through this.
Shit.
That they would pierce her in her most sensitive parts with these things. Okay. And then killed and buried and never identified. We don't know who this girl is. Okay. And so they wondered if he was like romantically involved with Shirley, but there was nothing in the journal that said that they were like together or anything like that, right? They're just helping each other. So who knows where this Shirley chick is and what she's doing. Terrifying.
How do you even find this Shirley? Like, it's hard enough for true crime people to find each other without sounding like psychos.
Yes.
But how does like a murderer, actually rapist murderer, find Shirley?
It's such a good question. And I'm going to ask that question later on down the story too, because it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh God. Okay.
Again, not for little kids, mommy, daddy time. So then there was a third victim. Again, all of this is from journal entries. There was a woman and she was stranded and she had a flat tire. And she was 17 years old. I mean, 17 is actually like a girl to me, not a woman. I'm a woman. 17 is a girl. So there was a girl. And Shirley and David pulled up and she was so happy to see them and needed help. She trusted them. She talked to them. And then out of nowhere, they punched her, gagged her, tied her up, and they took her to that secluded cave. Okay. We don't know what happened. Later that year at a bus stop, there was an 18-year-old where they befriended her. They were talking to her. They took her hostage. They took her back to their space. Apparently there was like a table there that they had set up. Terrifying. They tied her to the table, and they tied her in a way where her legs were folded back for most of the weekend, which sounds
Ow.
awful.
Oh,
Like if I sit on
no.
my leg for 5 minutes, I'm in terrible
Yeah.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just awful. So then something that David practiced was called breast bondage. Gross.
Mm.
This is where you cut off blood flow to
Oh, no.
your boobs. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Mhm.
I can see this in pictures. I've
Like
seen
with
this
a belt or a rope
You've
or something.
seen it. Girl, I'm not ready. What level you on? Damn.
Like movies, I can visualize this in my mind in a movie. I don't know
Yeah,
what movie.
me too,
For
I
sure,
think.
for sure. Yeah, right? We
damaged.
must watch the same
We're-
movie.
Oh
We're
my
fucked up.
God.
Don't mind us. We're good.
Sure we
Yes,
did.
no.
Shh, Dre, shh.
Talk about this
No.
later.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Disgusting. Y'all gross. So, so this woman was having this done to her, right? This breast bondage, which sounds fucking terrible. And then Shirley pulled out all of the woman's pubic hair.
What?
And
Ow.
during this, yes.
She got like
yes.
a wax.
Oh,
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
Awful. Who thinks of this shit? Like, I'm a very creative person and I would never think of this sick shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said that she passed out several times from the pain. Yeah, that sounds fucking terrible.
It's like the
So,
worst mammogram ever.
oh God.
Kidding.
So we know, we love you. So he killed 4 women in 1957. He's in high school. He's 17 and he's already killed.
No.
Right?
Wow.
Check yourself, David. You got problems. So in 1958, he graduates high school and he moves to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he's a mechanic. Remember how he's so good at building things, like besides crazy sex torture devices? A side note here, I did see a picture of a dildo he made. It was like this massive dildo he made out of PVC.
What?
And at like the bottom of it had like nails sticking out.
Ew. Just wow. When you said massive, just so our listeners understand, she was holding her fingers in like a 5-inch diameter.
Yeah, it's
circle.
massive.
Massive.
Yeah, you
God.
can Google it. It's disgusting. Nasty. So, around this time, he is wanting a girlfriend. Yeah, he's a catch. That's what we should do. Get into relationships. Good thinking, David. So he has his first romance with a 17-year-old girl. And after a few months, of course, they get married, April 1959. And that's something that we should remember too. I hear this a lot, like with serial killers, with domestic violence victims, that it always seems to be in a hurry to get married, right? They don't want you to see like who they are. Let's get married and now you're mine, right? I kind of think he had that going on, right? So married April 1959. And then all of a sudden after high school, remember he was 5'6", he has this growth spurt and he's all of a sudden 6'2". So he's even bigger and more able to take over women, and that's what we need. Bigger.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. He joined the military and he was a mechanic in the military, and he did go to Korea, which is terrifying because Korea in the time was kind of a hot mess. Sorry, Korea. You were a hot mess. And this would have been a very easy time for him to rape and torture and do whatever the fuck, and nobody would know, right? But nothing during that time was put in his journal entries. So, yeah. But it's hard for me to believe that he was good in Korea. Like,
Right.
I don't think so, David. So in 1960, his wife had their first baby. It was a boy, and they named him David Elvin Ray. That's what we need. Let's bring kids in the world. He's ready, right? Good dad. And then when he was away, the wife gave up the baby. I apologize. Gave this baby up for adoption. They're saying that the wife had a drug problem. And so when David returned to the U.S., he filed for divorce in 1961. He got the baby back, but then left his son with his mom. Okay. Good thinking all around. Okay.
All of it.
Right. All bad. So then he was redeployed to Fort Hood, Texas. And then while on leave in Albuquerque, he met another lady. That's what we need, another relationship. So in 1962, he gets married again. And then after 3 months, he's divorced again, right? He gets discharged from the Army with an honorable discharge. And then he drives a cement truck for his job. And he had 2 victims that year that are unidentified, right? So we know this from the journals. We don't know who they are. In 1963, he abducted 2 girls, one a 22-year-old and one a 25-year-old. And this is like, he starts experimenting with like electroshock therapy, which sounds super fucking awful. He would set these like clamps up to their breasts to inflict pain, and it would feel like they were like burning from the inside out. And this would have left severe internal and external burns, but not kill them. So again, David's a sick fuck. In 1963, David was 23 years old, and so far he had 10 victims. In 1966, he met Glenda Burdine. She was 18 years old. She had a son already, Ron, and they said that she was a very quiet and meek girl. And here is like a 26-year-old man that she feels like, oh, you know, we can be together and he can take care of me and my son, right? And they get married. It's a shotgun wedding, 1967, and they have a baby girl, and they named the baby girl Glenda Jean Ray, which I thought was odd, like to name your baby your name, but whatever.
Yeah.
So the mom is girl. Glenda and the baby's Glenda, but baby Glenda goes by Jessie. Okay. We all got, okay. All right. So for a short time, it's David, his new wife, Glenda, the baby, Jessie, Glenda's son, Ron, and then his son, David, kind of like are all living together for a short period of time. And then a few months after baby Glenda or Jessie is born, he's not into married life, and he goes, never mind, not into it. So he abandons the family.
Oh, shit.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding. Don't want to. I feel like that sometimes, okay? But you don't do it. How about that?
Right. Yeah.
So by fall 1967, he's a drifter. He goes from like New Mexico and Arizona. He does odd jobs. Like everyone that knows him at this time just thinks he's charismatic and he's intelligent, and people really like him, which is disgusting. Like that's how I feel when I hear, like, you don't have that red flag. You know, when you meet someone, you go, nope.
Yeah.
I would hope that I would do that meeting David. Nope.
Yep.
So in 1969, he moves back to Albuquerque, and he gets back with Glenda, and Glenda's like, yeah, it's all good. I remember when you left. Don't worry about it. We in love. So then they got back together. He became an aircraft mechanic, and then he was also an instructor. So in 1970, he moved to Tulsa. He was an instructor. And it's said that he never actually lashed out at his family at all, that he was like super chill with the kids, which is interesting to me.
It's almost Bundy-ish.
Yeah, like he wasn't doing that with his kids, like getting mad or being violent, right? Because that's what
So
he had
weird.
experienced.
Yeah.
That he did do some fucked up shit. So we'll get to that. So in 1973, he's 33 years old, and he kills 5 different women.
Great.
That year.
What's his tally up to now? We're up high, like
12.
almost 20 people.
So many. That's what the number is. So
Okay.
fucking many. So he tortures these women for days. One of the women that he found had an infant son with her. And in the notes, all it said was like EB10 East Side. So they like were kind of trying to figure out like where this all happened. In the notes, he put that the baby was being a pain, but the mom was really good. And they assumed that he healed both of them. We don't have names. So a lot of the people that he raped, tortured, killed were hitchhikers, drifters, sex workers, right? A lot of people who maybe had this hard life, maybe weren't connected to their family anymore, and people weren't saying, oh, where's, so-and-so,
Right.
which is really fucking sad to me. Like,
It
if
is.
something happens to me, I hope one y'all be calling 911. Okay?
Hell yeah.
Okay, thank you. So they moved around for, jobs here and there. It was said that he was very close with his daughter, Jessie, but he was very open with Jessie about all of his sexual tendencies.
Oh.
She knew all about all the sick sex stuff he was into.
Great.
He never hid it from her, and he didn't hide any of the victims from her. He openly talked about it. He openly showed her BDSM porn images since she was very little. So it was like not
Sad.
abnormal. She thought that was normal shit. Right?
Oh my God.
Like we all grew up thinking shit was normal, right? But then later on, you're like, oh shit, maybe not. So this is really abnormal, right? This is really awful. And then in 1981, I know you guys are really sad. He got divorced from Glenda. It didn't work out.
No.
We're all shocked to hear this shit. I know.
Oh.
He was 41 years old. Couldn't
So
handle
did
it.
Glenda know about any of it?
I don't think so. Nobody says anything like that. I don't think so. In 1982, the year of my birth, David is 42 years old. He's living in Phoenix, Arizona. He had mad mechanic skills, and he hooked up with this guy, Billy, and they decide to go. All of a sudden, David is making more money than he's ever made in his life, right? All of a sudden, he's got it made and now has 2 houses, because that's all he needs is more room to torture people. So he's got this money rolling in. What's he going to do with it? In 1983, he buys a second home, and it's in a town. The town's name is Truth or Consequences.
What? Who named this fucked up town?
I don't know how to tell you this. I named the town. So fun. So the town's name is Truth or Consequences. It's next to this other town called Elephant Butte, but it looks like Elephant Butt.
Huh.
Oh, Butte, yeah.
Butte?
B-U-T-T-E.
Yeah.
Let's say Butt. So these 2 fun towns with really fun names are like right next to each other. And all of a sudden, David, and this is kind of bringing it back to you, Dre, is making underground connections with the BDSM community. And I always wonder, how do people like this meet, right? Like as true crime lovers, paranormal lovers, somehow we meet.
We find each other.
We hang out in the same places. We talk and do the same things. I don't know. So he starts making this, community, these connections, and he meets this lady, Joni Lee. And Joni is part of this community. She's into the same kinky, weird, fucked up shit that he is. So that's nice. They get married. This is his 4th marriage.
Why not?
Right. And they're both into the same sex scene, right? And so he likes to experiment on Joni with all the devices he makes, right? Like, it kind of made me think of Rock a little bit, because Rock's always making things. And his things are like sweet and innocent and like loving.
Right.
But David's kind of opposite in that it's giant PVC like dildos. It's different.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I need a drink of my mango white claw 1 second.
You are drinking. I didn't realize.
Only when we podcast. 1986. Jessie, the daughter of David, is 19 years old. And she starts taking part in weird sex shit because she thinks it's normal. Which is disgusting and awful and sad. Again, if it's 2 consenting adults, have at it, get it on. I don't think that was the situation here. But Jessie and David get into this huge, crazy fight in June 1986. And what did she do? She called the FBI.
Ooh.
She called the FBI.
No.
Yeah, Jess.
She said,
Oh,
guess
yeah.
what my daddy did?
Dang.
She told the FBI everything, okay? She talked about the dildos and the breast blood thing. I don't know. She just kind of told them everything.
That's worse than getting caught by DNA.
Because your family straight up went ring-a-ring. Guess what? I got some info. In 1986, he's 46 years old, and he's been killing for 30 years. He had never been arrested or investigated, which is insane.
Wow.
It's terrifying to think about that, right? So the FBI brings David in, and they have a little talky talk, and David is completely honest about his BDSM love, right?
Okay.
He talks about how he loves this lifestyle. He loves having sex like this. He talks about how he makes special sex toys and sells them. Like, this underground community loves his sex shit. And he talks to them about how he can go months at a time and feel totally normal, but then it gets all built up and he's got to have like crazy BDSM torture sex or whatever. But it's all fantasy, right? So he's being very honest about things that are not illegal, because it's not illegal, right?
Right.
And then he makes some comment to one of the, FBI people that maybe I'm potentially dangerous. I don't know. But then that's it. He doesn't confess to anything. He doesn't do anything else. And so this FBI investigation lasts a year, and there's no concrete evidence, okay, of anything. Fun fact, not really, disgusting fact. During this investigation, there are 2 victims, 2 more victims, while he's being investigated by the FBI. So he obviously thinks he can just do whatever the fuck. He's not ever going to get caught, right? So one was a 25-year-old sex worker, and the sex worker was held for 2 weeks and was tortured for 2 weeks. One was a 15-year-old hitchhiker, tortured, and in his journal he put that he really liked her a lot, that she was just like a Barbie doll. Gross. So he did this while he's being investigated for the FBI, but the FBI couldn't find any evidence or anything concrete on him and ended their investigation.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
Let's all take a moment for that. Okay. So Jessie makes up with her father. She's like, remember that time I called the FBI and told them you're a murderer and a rapist? Sorry. And he's like, that's okay. I'll make you pancakes because that's what dads do. And they're like,
Okay.
pancakes. And then Jessie starts assisting him in his crimes again. Yeah. So back to this business he has. The other business owner that they like ran this thing together, that guy's name is Billy Ray Bowers. I know it's kind of confusing, but they made a lot of money together. But in 1988, Billy was like, I want to be done, right, with this business. Like, I just want to be done. And then Billy and David just really start fighting over everything to do with the business, and it just gets messy. And Billy says to employees there that he's afraid, for his life, and that he like tells them like on the side, like, if anything ever happens to me, you need to call the police. I've been murdered. Yeah, and so after a while of them like going back and forth, it's a very toxic situation. Billy disappears.
Oh no.
And of course the employees, they contact the police. Good job, you guys, you did it. The police interrogated David, but there was no body and there was no evidence. So
Great.
nothing happened again. He abducts 2 more women. He ties them to beds for 2 weeks, and in his notes he put shared with a friend, which what the fuck, what is that? I don't know. What does that even mean, shared with a friend? It's disgusting. And then because he's like making all this money or whatever, he purchases $100,000 trailer or toy box trailer. Here's our moment. Toy box. And he turns this into like the most disgusting sex dungeon, I guess. So he soundproofs it. He takes like a weight bench and he puts straps to it and puts like electrical cords to it, and he puts like a mirror like up above, so if someone's like laying down, they see themselves being tortured. There's just like sick shit like all over this thing. It's just disgusting. There's whips, there's chains, there's like all of the homemade dildos and shit that he goes crazy with. Just this thing is a disgusting dungeon. It's awful. So he puts this together, and this is where he starts really liking to take people and do whatever the fuck he wants. So then a fisherman found a tarp at a lake, and there's a lake near Elephant Butte and Truth and Consequences. And this fisherman finds this tarp, and there's 2 anchors, and there's a body in it, and there was a single gunshot in the back of the head. But this body has been in the water, wrapped up for a really long time, like horribly decomposed, and they cannot identify this body. Spoiler alert, it's Billy's body, and David knows that it's Billy's body, but nobody else knows. They can't identify. This is the only body that is ever found out of all of his victims.
Wow.
All right, y'all doing okay? We're breathing.
Yep.
Through it. We're getting through
So question, did he use his toy box trailer for like his like rendezvous?
No, I don't think so.
Like for his like sexual partners that were into it too, or was that strictly for his?
Okay. No. Like everybody did shit in here. There was a thing, and I know this is really gross and graphic, and I kind of was like going back and forth on whether to share it or not. But there was like a contraption that he made out of wood, and it would like bend you over so you can't like move. You're immobile. And I know, take a moment. He would put like gravy on the person, and then have like people and dogs. The dogs would like go crazy on the person doing whatever. He would have like dogs having sex with the person. Other people would come over and have sex with the person. Yes.
Oh my
So,
God. And this
yes,
person
he
was into that. It wasn't one of his victims. It was one of the people that were like into that.
I'm
like
sure it was one of his victims.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Terrible.
So just did really sick shit. And there was like a whole community of sick people that aren't getting consent doing sick shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think when you're into that, I mean, I'm sure he's found his little clique, right? But it enhances it for them. And so they're all about it, you know?
Yes. Yes. So in 1993, he makes an abduction tape. So what he would do is when he had someone he had abducted or kidnapped, he would tie them up and he would put them in his toy box and he would play this tape and he would watch them listen to it. And in this tape, he would tell them, and you can actually listen to this. It's like 40 minutes long. I'm not going to go word for it because it's disgusting. He tells them exactly what he's going to do to them.
Oh no.
Every detail. And he watches them listening to it and just like cry knowing that that's what is about to happen. Just terrible. So he really got off on just people being tortured and in pain, and he didn't give a fuck. So there was 2 sex workers. One he had for 4 days and one he had for 5 days. He really liked having 2 at a time, like tied up, because he would have them like in separate, like maybe like wooden boxes, so they didn't see each other, but they could hear each other crying, like listening to the tape. And he really enjoyed that. He said, you know, that there was like barbed wire bras he put on them, like nipple screws. What the fuck is a nipple screw? I don't even want to know. So he's just all over the place doing sick shit, and it just kind of seems like the sky is the limit, right? He's just going to do whatever. It's not going to stop. So in 1994, I know this is shocking, he's having marital problems with Joni Lee. Okay. They drifted apart, he said. Joni Lee was having epilepsy attacks. She was drinking a lot. At one point, she held a gun to his head. She should have pulled the trigger. And then they get divorced. So all done. No more Joni Lee. So David moved back to Truth or Consequences. I fucking love it. Full time, and he applied for a job and got it. And he was then a state park employee, you know, with a uniform, because that's what he needed, is a uniform, you know. In 1996, on July 25th, he took Viagra because he's now older. Now it's harder. So he's taking Viagra. And he gets a call from his daughter, Jessie. And Jessie says, guess what, Dad? I have a toy for you. I'm bringing over a toy for you. And so he got his toy box already and was super excited. And she brings over 23-year-old Kelly Cleve.
Oh, we have a name.
We have a name. How do we have a name?
Like that.
Yeah. So, Kelly, this is just awful. Kelly and Jessie actually knew each other for a while, and Kelly had gotten into a fight with her husband, and it was because, you know, she was telling her friends later, like, he wants to have sex all the time, right? But it hurts for her to have sex. She has like a tilted uterus, and it makes it painful to have sex. You know, some women have that, and that can be an issue. And they kind of got into a fight about this, and she went out with her girlfriends to a bar, and Jessie was there. And so they're all hanging out and, you know, having a good time. Kelly's all glad Jesse's there. Everyone else leaves. And Jesse says, I'll give you a ride home, right? Oh, what a nice friend. So they hop onto her motorcycle and Kelly gives her directions. And then she realizes Jesse is not going the right way. And she's like, what's up? Why aren't you taking me home? And Jesse is like, well, I'm going to stop at my house real quick. I need to get some coffee to like kind of sober up, right? Basically what she does is she takes Kelly, her friend, to her father's sex dungeon.
Damn.
So Kelly is taken by David. He tortures her. He holds her. He tells her he's part of a satanic ritual group. And because she has this, remember, tilted uterus, and it can be very painful, she's held for 3 days, but none of these toys that he's made, like, work on her the right way. Like, they don't go in the right way, right? Because her body really wasn't made for it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It wasn't going well for David. He was getting very fucking frustrated. Okay. So then all of a sudden, he sticks a needle in Kelly's arm. And then she kind of feels like the memories from the last 3 days are kind of like leaving her, right? And then she's really out of it. And then the next thing she knows is she's being pushed out of a vehicle. And then she sees David is there, and David kind of has her, and he's knocking on a door, and she realizes it's her door, right? And so her husband and like his parents are there. And the family's like, where were you? You were out cheating on, you know, your husband or whatever. And she said, no, I wasn't. I don't know what happened. I've been out of it. And David said he had found her like walking around the lake, obviously drugged up. And the family was like, yeah, you can't stay here. You need to leave. You've got to go.
Oh my God.
Yes, turned her away. And so David took her by the arm and put her in his truck. And then he dropped her at a friend's house. And
one of those BSM people?
No, like one of her like real friends' houses, because she could not remember what happened.
Oh shit.
She felt like something terrible had happened, but it was like kind of a nightmare, and she really didn't think it was real. And if she didn't think it was real, how was she going to tell police about it if she didn't know? Right?
Damn, that's crazy. You guys, side note, there is a drug that they do give you during colonoscopy. It's called Versed, and it's a conscious sedation. So anything can happen to you during this time where you're under Versed. And when you wake up out of it, you feel like, what the fuck just happened? You don't realize that there was a camera up your ass. No idea.
Oh, yeah, I've had it.
But
I've had a colonoscopy.
Crazy. Yeah,
it is
I'm
crazy.
wondering if he gave her something like that, maybe, where she just doesn't remember what happened.
That totally makes sense. Okay. Let's look into it later. We'll talk amongst ourselves. Okay. So I don't know. But she is the first victim to survive.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yes.
So then Cindy Hendy moves to New Mexico. This is a new person. She just had left her abusive boyfriend. And Cindy, of course, in Truth and Consequences, meets David and Jesse and becomes friends with them, because these are people we want to hang out with. And then shortly after, she meets a 24-year-old guy. His name is Dennis Yancey. And they all kind of like start hanging out together. So it's like a foursome. So it's David, Jesse, Cindy, and Dennis. And Cindy and David start dating, right? She said she was very attracted to David, which, okay, if you say so, gross. And Dennis Yancey at the time was, always getting in trouble for vandalizing things, maybe had killed someone already. But all four of them hung out. It seems like a really sweet crowd to hang out with. Yeah. In 1997, Dennis and Cindy see the toy box. So David and Jesse, bring them in, show them like all the fun they're having or whatever. And they're all into it. If I saw a sex dungeon, I would not be into it, but
Oh
they
my
were into it.
God.
So at one time, Dennis had dated someone named Marie B. Parker. She was a mom of 2 girls. She did have a drug problem at the time. But Marie broke up with Dennis, and Dennis was pretty pissed about it and wanted to teach her a lesson. And so Marie was abducted July 25th, 1997. And Marie goes missing. Nobody ever sees her again. So she's locked up in the toy box. She's tortured for weeks. And then David tells Dennis, you need to kill Marie. He does. And he buries her body in the middle of the desert in New Mexico somewhere. It's just fucking awful. It's just terrible. They all took part in the torture, right? They were all part of this. They were all complicit. They were all like sick fucks. So in 1998, Cindy moves in with David because she thinks he's husband material, apparently. February 17th, 1999, David's 59 years old. Cindy is 39 years old, and everyone knows him in town, and is well liked. Like, what the fuck? Nobody has that red flag ding ding inside them saying, no, bad people. So then somebody in town that everybody knows is Angelica Montoya, and she is a sex worker, and she has a glass eye. Everyone really likes Angelica. She's very friendly, and she's actually known for making like baked goods. Like, she really enjoyed baking, which always just makes me so sad, because maybe whatever happened for her to leave, like become a sex worker, like maybe she could have had her own bakery or, did something else. Anyway, that just made me sad. So she wanted to make a cake for someone's birthday, and David said, hey, guess what? I have some mix at home. You should borrow it. Come on over. So they went to the trailer, and David pulls a knife on Angelica and is told that she's going to be taken and she's now theirs. And she thought it was a joke. She even laughed out loud. And this is David and Cindy doing this to her. And he punches her in the stomach, rips off her clothes, handcuffs her, holds her for 2 days. She is raped and tortured in the toy box. And then for 3 days in the toy box, she is electrocuted, and just what this woman went through is just awful. This is why Angelica is a fucking badass through and through. On the 5th day of being tortured, and she felt like, I don't know how I'm going to make this, she decides to tell David that she really enjoyed her time. She had a good time. When are you going to let me go? I won't tell. And David is like, oh, she was into it, so she's not going to tell on me because she was into it. And Cindy's like, you so dumb. You a man. She's playing you. She's going to tell. And David said, no, I'm going to let her go. So on February 21st, they cleaned up Angelica. They put some clothes on her. They let her out on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. And of course, she just immediately starts hitchhiking back, because that's her life as a sex worker, which is fucking terrible. And some off-duty cop, Gary Biba? I don't know. Notes are terrible. He picks her up, and she tells him everything that just happened. She's like, this, and this just happened. I was tortured. I was raped. All this stuff. And he doesn't believe her.
Oh,
right? He does not believe her because she's a sex worker and she's no. It's just fucking awful the way that they're treated. Yeah. It really is.
Oh, no.
So March 20th, 1999, they went to Albuquerque, and Cindy V. Hill is caught. So I know this is going to be kind of confusing. So Cindy is David's girlfriend, right?
Mhm.
Cindy V. Hill is their next victim. So let's call her V. Hill. That way we can kind of keep it straight. Okay. So she is placed in a wooden box and held in a wooden box all the way back to Truth and Consequences, which is like 150 miles that she's held in this wooden box. So they get back to their home sweet home, and she is strapped to a bed, and they put a dog collar on her with like spikes and shit. And she's held for 2 days. She is raped and tortured. On March 22nd, 1999, David like loosens her up a little bit so she can like maybe use the bathroom. I think she had like a bucket or something she used, but they loosened it up. And then David left because he had to get supplies because they were like planning like something super fun for that night with her, which is gross. So Cindy, the girlfriend, left V Hill in the other room so she could watch TV. And she looks over, V Hill looks over, and what does she see? The fucking keys. Cindy left the keys on the table, and she's like, oh shit, like her adrenaline's pumping, right? And she's like, I'm going to see if I can reach them. So she loosens her up, she stretches herself out, she fucking gets the keys.
Yeah, bitch.
She gets the fucking keys. She unlocks herself. She still has this collar on. And she's like, oh shit, I'm free. She fucking gets up and she starts running, right? She's naked. She has this collar on and she's just going to go for it. She runs into the main room and Cindy is standing there in front of the fucking door. And Cindy grabs a lamp and smashes it over V Hill's head. And she's like shocked, right? That she's cut on her face from this lamp. V Hill grabs a fucking ice pick from the kitchen table.
Oh my God.
And she stabs Cindy in the back and the neck with it and runs the fuck out. Woo!
Wow.
Woo!
She's
What
a badass
feeling,
today.
right? Her
Yes.
adrenaline is pumping, right? So she's naked in a dog collar and she is running. She gets to a house where they actually like hide her in the house until the police get there. Holy shit. The police take David in, and he had been doing this shit for 45 years, and it finally came to an end. Holy shit. So the FBI goes to his house, finds the toy box, finds the video camera that he takes all the video of
oh my God,
all of the shit that he did. And there's a video where there's this girl with this very unique tattoo, and they put it out like, do you know this tattoo? Have you seen this tattoo? And guess who fucking sees it? Kelly Cleve. Kelly's like, that's my tattoo. What the fuck? She realized those weren't nightmares. That shit really happened. She goes in, talks to the FBI, and they show her the fucking video of
oh
the
my
shit
God.
that I would rather not know or see, or you know what I mean? So she finds out she had been this victim of all this crazy shit. And then Gary, that off-duty cop, remembers Angelica. Oh, I remember Angelica told me she had been held and tortured and raped, and I guess she wasn't lying. So they pull these three victims together. So they found all of his journals from all this shit.
Oh my God.
Yes. So they're going through all of them. I can't imagine reading that. That's so disgusting. I can imagine seeing this toy box with all the shit that they did. And for sure, that's a hoarder's house. For sure that they were living in some nasty shit. there was no names in the journals, which is so crazy. So they are pressing Jesse and Cindy for fucking information, of course. And then they arrest Dennis. And Dennis, he immediately confesses to everything and tells them all the shit, right? So there are no bodies found. There are no bodies found. And they're thinking that it's around 60 murders that he's committed. The only one found was Billy. And he's the only one killed, like, not for sexual pleasure, right?
Right.
So they can't charge him with murder. So there's three.
God, I'm so mad.
Right. There's 3 victims that they have. It's 2 years worth of trials. On September 20th, 2001, he gets convicted of kidnapping, assault, right? All these crazy things. He gets 224 years in prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse, his daughter, gets 2.5 years.
The fuck?
Because he said, I'll tell you all this shit if you go easy on my fuckhead daughter. So she got
so
2.5 years.
Keep on.
She can just do whatever the fuck. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. So he gets 224 years. And then, you know, after he's convicted, they try to interrogate him for like 8 months. You know, they want names, they want bodies, they want all this shit. And he never gives up anything like a dick. And then May 28th, 2002, it's the first day of his sentence. He's, you know, sitting in the cell. He's waiting for his paperwork to be processed. This motherfucker has a massive heart attack and dies.
Come on.
Oh.
That's like, no.
Not fair? That's correct.
Not satisfying.
That is fucking correct. That's the toy box killer.
Wow.
That's fucked up.
It's a really fucked up story.
It really is.
There's really sick people. So let's remember some things. Don't talk to strangers. Don't hitchhike.
Don't be a sex worker.
Sex worker. If you can, if you are, no judgment. We love you. Maybe focus on baking more. Yeah, don't join BDSM underground communities where there's non-consent. No, like, satanic rituals. Obby. Okay. Okay.
Don't give your kids porn.
No porn. Don't have sex with your nephews. These are basic things. You know what I mean? Basic things. But that's the toy box killer. It just is, it's fucking crazy that he got away with it for so long.
So long.
And his daughter ratted him out to the FBI, and that shit continued for 13 years after. Insane.
There's just no justice. There's no justice in this at all. Like,
Nope.
I would like want to go through. I mean, who's gonna miss a sex worker or a homeless person or whatever, like a drifter? But there's got to be like a handful of people who are missing
There
at
had
the
to
time.
be.
There has to be. People care about people.
Yeah.
You know,
I care about everybody.
Nice.
This is a very fucked up story, but in the true crime world, it's a big one, right? It's a heavy hitter. This serial killer is fucking crazy. Love your kids. Don't show them porn or anything. You know, let's raise our kids right. Less serial killers if we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's bananas.
All right, now that we're like psychologically damaged for life.
Yeah. How am I gonna go to sleep after this? Just whoa.
Well,
We're not. We're gonna listen to a dog barking all night. I ain't.
yeah. Well, and then you're going to have my story to think about as well.
Great.
Hold on, I'm opening a White Claw. Hold on. Okay. All right, Timo.
All right,
Really
so
fuck shit up.
I'm going to do a cryptid. Woo!
What's a cryptid?
It's like,
We went over this.
remember, you're like, oh, is it like Nelly? And I'm like, Nessie?
Oh, yay! I am
Chupacabra.
all about Nessie. Yeah, chupacabra.
Yeah. It's not the chupacabra. But maybe I'll do that. Maybe for, I don't know.
Shit.
Yeah, I'll do it. There's
It's fun to say.
it's a huge, huge amount of information. So yeah, I'll look into that. But this one, I'm not going to tell you right off the bat what I'm talking about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about the town that it comes from, and all the good stuff about the town, and then I will tell you who it is or what it is.
Is it the
So-
town of truth or consequences?
No.
Oh, okay. Different town.
Okay, it's a
Not
different
playing
town.
that game.
So this is a town called Point Pleasant. It's nice, right?
Wasn't.
Point
Yeah.
Pleasant. It's in
I
West
bet some
Virginia.
shit happens. West Virginia.
Yeah, West
Mm.
Virginia.
It sounds amazing.
It's on the banks of the Ohio River.
Oh,
And-
okay. That does sound nice.
Yeah, and it's known as where the town where history and rivers meet. And it's a little rural community. It's a close rural.
Rural.
They have a lot of close-knit families. It's a town where generations just stay over and over and over again.
Like SEV.
Yeah,
Right.
like worse than that. And
Yeah.
then, yeah. And it does have the National Guard Armory there. So that's one of the big things that,
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, was
Yeah.
the armory there?
yeah, it
Oh,
is.
there you
It
go.
is. And then across the river is Ohio, and the town right there that's closest is called Gallipolis, Ohio.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Amazing names. Got
Yes.
it.
So now we're going to go way back in history. October 10th of 1774.
Damn.
Yeah.
Long
ago.
time.
Right. The Mingo and the Shawnee tribes joined together to defend their land against the Virginians, led by Colonel Andrew Lewis, and it became known as the Battle of Point Pleasant. Unfortunately, the Native American tribes were forced to retreat, and the victory allowed the settlers to inhabit their land. But
Settlers were little fuckers, dude.
They were, yeah, well, we were,
Mhm.
yeah, that's our history. The Shawnee chief, whose name was Cornstalk, he actually negotiated a treaty with the Virginians. There's a whole bunch of history that goes behind that. I'm not going to get into that, but he returns 3 years
Hold on.
later.
Can we
Yes.
just take a moment here? His name
Yes.
was Cornstalk.
Yes.
If you had an Indian name, what would it be?
Um,
I know what mine would be. Red Buffalo. Hello.
haven't we talked about this before? I think we have.
What our Indian names would be? No, we haven't had this.
No.
Oh, maybe it was
This
your
is deep.
spirit animal. Was your spirit animal a buffalo?
No, that would be like a fox.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I would be. Like I would probably be like Spirit Walker.
Spirit Walker's a good one. Dre, what would your Indian name be?
I don't know. Like fucking sleeping tiger or something.
Ooh, all right.
So wait, really fast. This is really quick. I'm so sorry. This is like really fucking funny. I have a friend who said that the way that they, like, he's Native American, okay? The way that they come up with their names is that when you're born, you know, your family looks at whatever's out there, whether it be cornstalk or like, you know, tomahawk or anything, and that's your name. So his brother said, okay, so like if you're born and your parents see two dogs fucking, are you now like
Dog fucker.
Uh,
Two dogs like
sad.
to fuck.
I don't know. How do they
That's
come up
my
with these
Indian
names?
name. Yeah.
humping
Humping.
John. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, humping wolf. Humping
Yeah.
wolf. There you go.
Okay, but I really am gonna stick to Red Buffalo.
I like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Tatonka.
Okay, so he makes this treaty. He returns 3 years later to a diplomatic visit right there at, there's a fort called Fort Randolph. They turn on him. He had brought his son with him, and they captured them, tortured them, and then killed them.
Oh no.
So on Cornstalk's deathbed, he cursed Point Pleasant for the next 200 years.
Oh.
And to this day, there are mass graves of Native Americans throughout the
Oh.
area of Point
Oh,
Pleasant.
I hate that.
The majority is in a place called McClintic Wildlife Management Area. We're going to talk about that later. So remember that McClintic Wildlife Management Area. So I guess in that area, there's a lot of mass Indian burial ground there. So that might play into this a little bit, but we'll see.
Because that's a thing, isn't it?
It
That
is.
you don't go on an Indian
No.
burial ground. You don't fuck
don't.
around. Isn't
Yeah.
that what happened in Poltergeist?
I was just gonna say.
Yes, it did. Yeah, there was a part.
Yes.
Yeah, there was. And then something freaky, you guys, when they built Plum Canyon and when it went through finally from Bouquet, Plum, and then down to White's, that whole area right there is said to be Indian burial ground.
What?
What
Yeah.
the? Are you kidding me?
They
No,
do have
and,
very bad Wi-Fi in Plum Canyon.
and once
I just have to say, when I go through there, I do get the heebie-jeebies.
well, this
Mhm.
is a kind of a sad story too. When the road first opened that evening, it was probably like 2 a.m, I think. There was a guy that went to my school. He rode a motorcycle and he gave a girl a ride home that night, and he crashed, and she didn't make it, but he did.
Mhm.
But it was
Mhm.
right there in that area where they say there was, Indian burial ground. So yeah,
Right.
it was a really creepy, crazy.
Oh,
And then
no.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said that when her parents built their house, it was a known tribal Indian American area, and they actually had to have archaeologists come out and excavate it to see if there were any artifacts, not bodies, but artifacts.
Interesting. Okay.
If they had found artifacts, they were not allowed to build there. So they didn't find anything, so they were allowed to build. But yeah, that's banana stuff. Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like it's kind of boss of Cornstalk to be like, fuck y'all, 200 years, curse, done.
Right.
I
Yep.
think on my deathbed, I would like to curse something.
Yeah. What would you
I'll
curse?
think of something. I
Okay.
don't know.
Let us know.
I'll
Let
get
us-
back to you.
Okay.
It's kind of a big decision.
Mhm.
Okay, so are you curious, did the curse work? I don't know from the 1800s, but from 1913 to 1937, the Ohio River would always flood, and it would flood all the time, and this would cause mass destruction, deaths left and right, and they always said that had to do with Cornstalk's curse. And
Did anyone
I
think
believe
maybe we should like move?
I don't know.
Maybe not live here?
Yeah, I don't know. No.
Do you know that show Alaska, where like they live and they hunt in Alaska, and it
Uh-huh.
like looks super fucking hard, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
always like, they know they don't have to live there.
Yeah.
They don't have to. Okay.
But
Just a point I'm making.
Yeah, I don't know. If we have a
Yeah, we
time
don't
machine.
have to live here.
Yeah,
That
we
is
don't have-
correct.
Right.
That
don't
is
have-
also right, Trey.
Okay, so besides the floods, there was
Uh-huh.
something more sinister on its way.
Ooh,
Ooh. So, this 1960s started a 13-month crazy event period with a supernatural being, and he is known as the Mothman.
Mothman!
So the very first sighting of Mothman was November 12th, 1966. And this is so funny because this is happening right around the same time that your serial killer was
Right?
doing
I was
all his
just
stuff.
thinking the
Yeah,
same thing.
isn't that crazy?
Maybe they're
Yeah.
the same one.
Yeah,
Mothman
maybe.
and Toy Box Killer, same person.
Mm.
Maybe. So 4 men were in the local graveyard. They were digging a grave at dusk when a man-like creature flew low from the trees above them, and then it swooped down and then it flew away. And this freaked them the fuck out, so they ran straight to the newspaper and they told them their story.
They ran straight to the newspaper.
Yes.
Straight to a
And-
hometown station.
Right. And
KHGS up in here.
that was the beginning of the beginning. So besides, I'll start again. So West Virginia folklore, they're not new to freaky stuff. They have folklore that included spook lights. We've talked about those before. Ghost stories. There was something in the 1950s called the Flatwoods Monster. So this Birdman creature that now people are seeing was nothing to surprise them. But we're going to go back to my notes here because I have tons of notes. Sorry, you can hear all my crap. So I'm going to talk. Yep, I'm going to talk about the first. This happened right after the grave guys, but this is the most famous sighting of the Mothman. This is like even before the grave diggers, but this is what made the news. This was like the big deal. So Steve and Mary Mallet and Roger and Linda Scarberry, they're like, little cute little married couples that hung out together. One evening they decided to go driving around in Steve's 1950 Chevy Bel Air, and they were driving around town, and they decided to go to what the locals call the T&T area. Now, I'm just going to go back a little bit. The T&T area was a power plant that was in, it was operating between 1942 and 1945. It was called West Virginia Ordnance Works. And after World War II, it was abandoned and it became a dumping ground for chemical waste. But it was also a place that the kids would like to go and like make out and like hang out and
near the nuclear power plant. It made them feel awfully special, and
yes,
started
it did.
glowing.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was given to that wildlife, the McClintock Wildlife Management Area, and they called it the T&T. So when I am going to talk about that area, I'm going to just call it the T&T. So that was the thing to do. The kids just love to go on Friday nights and hang out in this area. So Roger, Linda, Steve, and Mary, they decide that they're going to go past the power plant over there. So they're driving by and they see this, they're on this road, and they see this man standing in the middle of the road. And as they get closer to it, they notice this thing's like 7 feet tall, and it kind of has like, it's like furry or feathery. It has, and it's like a light gray color. And then
feathery?
Yeah. And then Linda said that it looked like it had wings, but it was like tucked under its like arms. So it looked like if we would put our hands behind our backs, that's what the wings look like. And then as they got closer to it, it actually spread out its wings and started running towards the power plant, which is not to their car, but start running like off to the left to the power plant. And as they saw him running away, it was like a weird run. Like it didn't look like a human running. It was like something weird. So they're like, well, fuck this. They said, let's go tell the sheriff. But they're like, he's never going to believe us. He's never going to believe us. But they get in the car, they're driving to go tell the sheriff. And then all of a sudden, they look up and the creature is flying behind them. So now it's up in the air, it's flying.
Oh, hell no.
It's fucking chasing their car. So they're like freaking,
it runs.
Yeah, it's freaking, they're freaking the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Steve said he was going 90 to 95 miles an hour. It never got in front of them, but it stayed as fast as they were going. If they went higher than that, it stayed right up with them. So
oh my God.
It disappeared. So it flew off. And then they're like, okay, fuck this. So they turned back the other way and they start going into town, and they saw it. It was flying behind them again. And he said by this time he was going like 100 miles an hour. He's like, fuck this, we're getting out of here. And as soon as they got to the city limits, it flew off and took away. It just flew off. And disappeared. So this was like the news. It became like, creature.
Like they
It
saw
was
UFO or something.
yeah, it was like a flying man creature. It was the Mothman wasn't the name given to it yet. So this
What
was
if
like,
he just wanted to have some friends? What if it was a baby left near the power plant and it grew some feathers and it just wanted some friends?
well, you're getting somewhere. So just hang on to that. You might be right. You might be right.
Can we call him Gary? I think Gary just wanted some friends. I would have been friends with Gary.
Funny.
No judgment here, Gary.
So while this was going on, 90 miles away from Point Pleasant, Merle Partridge and his wife were sitting in their living room watching TV.
Merle, hand me the remote, Merle.
And all of a sudden, there was this high-pitched sound coming from the TV, and it just got louder and louder and louder. And while this was happening, their dog was on the porch, and he's howling, and he's barking. And then all of a sudden, the TV just blew up, like the glass just came out. Because, it was like real glass TV back then.
Yeah, yeah, those big-ass TVs. And your grandparent was like, now go change the channel. And he had to get your fat ass up to turn it.
That's right. That's right.
Torture. That was our
get
torture.
hot.
Yeah. Stay away from the TV, kid.
Get off the TV. It's too hot already.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like a big piece of furniture those days.
Yes.
So as his wife was cleaning up the broken glass, he ran out to check on what was going on with his dog, and his dog took off and started running in the field by their house. And all that was out there was a small shed. And as he looked, he saw these two red lights, and they were like spinning. And he's calling the dog wouldn't come back. Lights are spinning. He said it kind of looked like a helicopter, but it was really silent.
And there was two of them?
Two lights just spinning around. Yes.
Red lights. Okay.
Two red lights. And he said, but he couldn't hear anything. So he said, it looks like a helicopter, but it couldn't have been a helicopter. And then it just went straight up and disappeared. But he didn't think this was like UFO activity. That's not what they were thinking. Possibly.
Okay.
So he called the
I'm
sheriff.
gonna look it up. Okay.
He reported this to the media and the police, and unfortunately, his dog was never found after that.
You didn't mention that the dog.
We don't know if the dog died. Maybe he just went up to Mars or somewhere with the aliens.
The old lady was saying, Merle, where's the dog?
I know.
Aww.
Okay, so the next story is so now after the two couples, all the shit went down, it was out of control. People were grabbing their guns, they were going over to the power plant, and they were just hunting for this creature. And there was just miles and miles and miles of cars lining up to get to where this TNT place was. The National Guard had to step in, and they basically had to disperse everybody and make them go away. So this is still in November of 1966, there is a man by the name of Woodrow Derenberger. Okay, so this is always related to the Mothman, but I'm going to take this into a totally different direction here. I know, Red, you're going to love it. So Woodrow was driving on Highway 77 in Parkersburg, West Virginia, when he saw a bright light in the road ahead of him. And what he saw was a metallic cigar-shaped craft that actually landed on the road right in front of him.
Oh, shit. Seriously?
Yes. A being got out of the craft and walked up to his truck. He said it looked like a man, normal looking man. He's about 6 feet tall, about 35 years old. He had
it wasn't an
hair.
alien?
No, looked like a man. He had dark brown hair, but he did have like some type of metallic-y blue coat. And he spoke to him, but he spoke to him telepathically. He did not open his mouth when he talked to him. And he told him
he looked human. He looked human.
Exactly human.
He was probably imitating a human's body. You know, like wearing an Earl suit.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard this name before, Red, but he said my name is Indrid Cold. Have you ever heard that name before? Indrid, and then Cold, Cold.
No, but I'll look it up. And I would like to request you to please call me by Red Buffalo. I mean, we
Okay.
went over this. That is my name now.
Okay.
Please respect. Okay, thank you. Indrid Cold, I've never heard of that. This is really interesting to me because I've actually never heard of a human form.
Okay, well,
I've never heard of that.
it's quite a few of these in the same form. So he said, I
What?
want to talk. The conversation took about 10 minutes. He said, I want to talk to you. I just want to let you know that we eat like you, we breathe like you, we sleep like you, we bleed like you. And he turned around, went back to the craft, but before he flew away, he said, we will see you again.
Did he say in 2020? Possibly July?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
bet.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm seriously tripping. I've never heard of this encounter ever.
But this is weird because it says this became the most fascinating UFO story to this day.
Look,
So
I love aliens. I love
I know
all
there's a
things
few others.
aliens.
Yeah, me and you would agree that there's a few others that are probably more fascinating than this. But if you want to do a deep dive in and let us know what you think about
I am seriously,
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. This is
Okay.
like crazy.
Okay.
So we eat like you,
Breathe,
have sex
bleed.
like you. Okay.
Yeah. So he goes straight to the media and he tells the media about what was happening. But at the same time, across the river in Gallipolis, a woman sees a bright flash of light outside. I don't know where she's at because this information wasn't very descriptive, but it lands in a parking lot from where she is. And she said 2 men got out and they were dressed like humans. They looked like humans. There was nothing weird about them except for that they got out of this craft. They walked up to her. They asked her a series of questions using a strange dialect. They turned around, got in their craft, and they left.
Okay, so she could not understand. This was a different language.
Right. They just kept on talking to her in this weird dialect.
Wow. This is tripping me out.
And then right after that, along the same highway that Woodrow Derenberger was on,
Highway 77?
Yes, there were 2 men that were driving on the highway. They came across a man in the road, and he looked human. He was dressed human, but he just stood there smiling at them, and they described him as the grinning man.
Grinning man?
Yeah. So basically, this happened on a nightly basis, not the people, not the aliens, but there were so many UFO sightings up and down the Ohio River during this period. It just became like a common thing that was happening.
Is this something they covered on the new Unsolved Mysteries?
No.
Okay.
Fully different area, but
I am
yeah,
seriously
I like that story
I've never
too.
heard of this.
I'd never heard of those stories. Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm going to take you to a reporter for the Huntington Herald. His name is Dave Payton. And he said basically from Point Pleasant to Charleston, there was so many mass sightings of UFOs that they had to have a special assignment desk just for the calls that would come in on an hourly basis, reporting all of these UFO sightings. So this is happening in that 13-month period with the Mothman. So this is all happening at the same time. So now we're going to go back to the Mothman stuff. Marcella Bennett, Raymond Wellesley, who was her brother, and his wife Kathy, they went to the TNT area, and on the way they actually saw a UFO in the sky. So they were like, whoa, that's trippy. They didn't really know what it was. They're like, oh yeah, it looks like a UFO, like joking around and whatever. So on their way, they went home. They had to go pick up she had a 3-year-old daughter. Her sister was babysitting. They went to her house, and as she was putting her child into the car, she looked to the side of her and she saw a tall gray figure that had huge wings, and it basically jumped at her. So she turned around. She started running with her child back to her sister's house. She fell. You know how that always happens in the
Yes.
horror
Yes.
movies.
Yes. Yes.
Her
Well,
brother
in real
came.
life also.
Yeah, that would totally happen to me. Her
Yeah.
brother picked her up behind her. They ran into the house just in time for it to bam, hit on the door.
Oh.
And then it started hitting back on the door like 3 or 4 times, and then it left. So it was like trying its hardest to get in.
Oh, I wonder what Gary needed.
I don't know.
Maybe he
Gary.
was out of like
Uh,
ketchup or something.
Borrowing some sugar.
Yeah, he wanted some sugar from the neighbor.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Gary's misunderstood. I feel it.
Well, I don't know the lady's name, but I'll tell you her name in a minute. And I think she feels the same way you do. Red Buffalo.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so Bob Bosworth, this is all still in November 1966. He was driving around
That's
with
a
his buddy.
lot.
I know. This is all happening within like a few weeks of each other. So him and his buddy were riding motorcycles down the same area. And he said the moon was so bright they decided to turn their headlights off and just kind of like, drive through the moonlight and enjoy everything. And they decided to go off and turn off to where the power plant was. So as they pulled up to the power plant, they looked up on the roof and they saw this man-like figure, and it had 2 red glowing eyes. Now, I forgot to tell you guys about the other sightings, but that was one of the things that they would see as well, is the red glowing eyes. So they stood there and they're like, oh, what the fuck is that? So they decided to go investigate. So they went into the building, and the moon was so bright, it was like shining in all the, it's just like a empty building, like a brick building, but with like open, holes where the windows used to be. And the moonlight was coming in. So there was dark spots and light spots. And they saw this creature, and it walked towards them, but it stayed in the dark. It wouldn't get into the light area. It would stay in the dark. And it had they said that it almost looked like it didn't have a neck. So it was like this huge head and a huge body, and the red eyes were like almost like on its like chest area. And they just stood there looking at it, and all of a sudden it turned around and walked away, and they didn't hear it after that point. And then all of a sudden they heard like the swish of wings, and then it disappeared.
Interesting. It didn't attack them. Gary didn't say anything to them.
No.
Weird.
He didn't want to be seen, I guess, at that point. So he hid in the shadows. So we're looking, it's November 18th now. And now it's all over the papers. I mean, not only in West Virginia and Ohio, but it's like news everywhere. And
well, then you have to wonder like about people hearing from each other or reading something and then maybe creating their own stories, right? You always have to take that into account.
And there were so many that I was like wondering, like, wow, there's so many stories, because I'm not telling you all the stories of all the sightings. There was so many of them. But they were from like prominent people, like firefighters and cops and like military, and like all walks of life were seeing these, so you were kind of like, well, maybe they're like joining in and whatever. But so it became like hysteria. Mothman, Mothman, Mothman. So Faye DeWitt Laporte, 3 of her brothers and her sister were driving one night, and they turned off a main road, and the brother decides to look. Well, she and her brother are in the front seat. He looks at her and he's given her this like weird face, and she's like, what? And he's like, don't look now, but there's something outside your window. Now they're driving, okay? They're on this road, and they're still driving 55, 60 miles an hour.
That would scare me.
Yeah. She turns and looks, and she sees this fucking Mothman flying. She didn't know if it was running or flying exactly next to her window, and she could see the bright red eyes, right? And as he sped up, it sped up. It just stayed with the car. If he slowed down, it slowed down. So he's like, okay, I'm going to fucking lose this thing. So he decides to make a sharp left turn, trying to lose it. It turned right along with them and kept on going. So then he turned again and stopped, dead stop, and it disappeared. And all of a sudden, it fucking jumps on the hood of their car, squats, and is just looking back and forth from him to her brother, him to her brother, just looking back and forth. The poor little brothers and sisters are in the back seat crying and screaming. They're like, be quiet. They're like, get down on the floor, get down on the floor. Next thing they know, it jumped off their car and flew to the power plant, and it's on the top floor of the building. So what does this fucking brother decide he's going to do? Well, he's going to get out of the car, and he's going to start throwing rocks at it, right?
No.
So she's screaming at him like, get back in the car, let's go, let's go, let's go. So he's throwing the rocks at this thing, and he's like saying, shoo, shoo, shoo. It stood up, and he's like, get in the car, lock the doors, get in the car. And as soon as they got in the car, they said it opened up its huge wings, and it just flew away into the night, and they never saw it again.
I feel like Gary's my soulmate.
This reminds me of Jeepers Creepers so much.
Yes, it does.
Ugh.
Yes, it does. Okay, so a few little sightings. November 20th, there's 2 different sightings. Howard Miller was driving along, and he saw this huge bird-like creature with red eyes. It flew, and then it landed on a bus shelter. And then at that same time, a couple were driving down the road, and they said they saw a large bird-like creature, and it was chasing them as they drove, but then it flew off. And then on November 21st, Richard West actually reported it as a Batman, because he thought it looked like a bat. And he said it had an 8-foot wingspan, and he saw it sitting on his neighbor's roof, and it had the red eyes, and he said it opened its wings up, but it didn't start flapping. It just went straight up in the air and disappeared. And that's what a lot of other sightings said too. It really didn't use its wings to fly away, but it would just go straight up, like Superman would go straight up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the power plant, right? We're all in on this together.
Yeah.
The power plant.
Well, let me tell you,
Gary. Okay.
So a biologist came to kind of like calm the masses because this was like getting out of control. And he said that it was, what he thought it was a sandhill crane. Now, sandhill cranes are like really huge,
right.
like birds.
That's true.
But they're white.
Yeah, but birds don't look like men also.
Right. They're white though. So that was kind of like, but he's saying that possibly it might have drank from the power plant water, or there was water around there, and it kind of genetically mutated into what we think now was the Mothman. So that's one theory.
Instead of just dying.
Right.
That's so crazy, man.
And then they're
Very
also saying, they're also saying that it might be just a huge owl, because owls, their eyes reflect in the light, they turn red.
That's true.
So they're saying, okay, maybe, but these things are like huge and flying like 100 miles per hour. So that's yeah. So this one is a freaky story. So Lawrence Gray and his wife, they were a married couple. They were both about 19 years old. They went to bed, and he said that he, on his side, was a window. So he was laying on his side, he was looking out the window. Couldn't go to sleep. He kind of saw like a street light. There were bugs flying around, and he saw a car drive by. And then he decided to turn around onto his right side. And as he turned, he said that there was this tall man standing at the foot of his bed.
What?
And he said what he thought it was the devil. he couldn't talk, he couldn't move, he basically had sleep paralysis at this point. And this is creepy. He said it had a gray robe like jacket on that had seams down the arms. It had red eyes. It seemed like the hands were really, really long, because he said he couldn't see its hands. It was below the bed, the level of the bed. And all he felt was like it was an evil presence. So he prayed and he prayed, and it slowly just dissipated away. And he's 74 years old when he's giving this interview, and he says he remembers it like it was yesterday. So I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was this Indrid cold person, or if this was the Mothman. But yeah, this guy was like,
Interesting.
yeah. So now I'm going to come into a really, really, really sad story. They say that when you have a Mothman sighting, something bad is going to happen. It's like kind of like like an omen. Something bad's going to happen. So it was in December of 1967. So it's about 9-10 days before Christmas time. This was on December 16th, around 5 p.m. So there was between West Virginia, Point Pleasant, and Gallup Police, there is a bridge that stretches across the river, and it's called the Silver Bridge. The light on the bridge that would control the traffic was out. So basically at this time, it was rush hour. People were out Christmas shopping. There was a traffic jam on the bridge, and it was about 40 years old, and the bridge collapsed. It sent all these cars into the river.
Oh my God, that's awful.
But it was kind of like a suspended bridge, kind of like the Golden Gate. So one side snapped and it swung to the left, and the cars on one side flew in.
Oh my God.
And then it flung to the other side, and those cars, so there were cars and bridge and everything just piling on top of each other.
That's awful. That's so awful.
There were 31 cars that fell into the river. There was cars and Christmas gifts floating up and down the river.
That's sad.
That's the saddest shit I've ever heard. I just did the toy box.
I know.
I know.
There were 46 people that died. 9 people were injured, and 2 were missing and never found. There was a claim that they saw the Mothman on the bridge that day earlier before this happened, and there is a picture of it, and it's creepy. It is.
They're blaming the Mothman for this
yes,
shit?
because so well,
Here,
no,
not structural damage.
It was structural damage. It was structural, and because all the cars and the weight, and it was 40 years old. It was built like in 1928 or whatever. But they say that the Mothman was there. So they say whenever he's seen, there's probably something bad that's going to happen.
Okay, right.
Insurance doesn't cover Mothman shit. Okay.
No, it doesn't. So I'm gonna find this. So you know the couple, the 2 couples, that lady, she said that she actually saw, her name was Linda Scarberry. She said she saw the Mothman about another 13 times in her lifetime throughout the years.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. And she actually said that one night she was sitting in her home, she looked out her window and sensed something was looking at her, and it was the Mothman, and she sensed a sadness along with curiosity from him. So I don't know, Gary, that you might be right. Gary might be kind of like
he just needs a hug, maybe a nice Christmas with family. I don't know.
She was like the Lois Lane to her Superman Mothman.
Yeah. So you're gonna love this part. So there is a newspaper lady, her name is Mary, and there was a man that came from New York. He's a writer. They joined forces and they started doing a lot of investigating, right? She had a column in the paper where if you wanted information about the Mothman, she would tell you. And this guy's name, his name is John Keel, and he actually writes a book, and it's called The Mothman Prophecies. Hang on to that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna come back
I've
to
heard
that.
of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He felt like he was being followed, and guess who was following him?
His mom.
Was it her?
The Men in Black.
Oh shit!
Yes, and
Oh
then
shit!
many,
It's happening.
yes, and then many of the people that had sightings actually were followed by a black car, by two men in the car, and even some of them came to their house and wanted to ask them questions. And one lady went to a mailbox and the car pulled up and they tried to pull her into the car and take her. So
I love all things Men in Black.
I know, I
Yes.
knew you would.
Yeah.
I knew you would. So yeah, that's another little crazy side note about.
Dang, this
This
is
is
fully
goodie.
loaded.
Goody.
So after the bridge collapse, the Mothman kind of went away. Like there were no more stories about the Mothman. There were still
Feels like
sightings.
I killed enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
no
were
shit.
sightings here and there, but it wasn't like crazy like it was. And
There was a ton of sightings, like aliens, Mothman, all in November, which is crazy. Like, what caused that to happen?
between November and December, well, the bridge collapsed exactly a year later. So that collapsed in 1967. So it was like almost a year. It was 13 months of just craziness. Mothman, Men in Black, UFOs, men, human-looking aliens.
Are there books written about this? I would love to read something about it.
All over. The documentary that I got this from is on YouTube. And
what's it called?
It's called The Mothman. I'll send it to you because there's so many, and some of them aren't really good, but this one was really good. So I will, I'll send it to you. So in 2002, they decided to make the Mothman prophecies that were written by John Keel into a movie, and it starred Richard Gere, Laura Linney, we love her,
yes,
and Deborah Messing, and okay. I watched this. Now I'm going to warn you, it's a great movie, but it's not a horror movie. You do not really see the Mothman, so it's not like a like a foo-foo horror movie,
right?
With like this monster. It's very psychological, hence prophecies. So Keel takes the whole story of his investigations and his experiences, because he'd seen the Mothman many times when he was there in town. He basically wrote the book of, like, if you see the Mothman, what happens after that? Like why is he a bad omen? What happens? It's a crazy, bizarro movie. It was very, very entertaining. I liked it. It was great. So before, right around when that movie came out, 2 Point Pleasant residents, Jeff Welmsley and Caroline Harris, they start the Mothman Festival, and it's the largest festival in West Virginia. It happens every September. Anywhere from 10,000 to 12,000 people flock into this little bitty town. And then in 2003, a metal statue was erected of Mothman. And
wow.
It is a 12-foot metallic metal stainless steel. It was made by the area artist Bob Roach, and he actually wanted the eyes to light up red, but I guess there was a funding issue, so he couldn't do that. But the Mothman statue is pretty cool. I'll put that on all the sites as well. And then in 2005, the Mothman Museum opened up, and that's a cool little place to go to. I mean, t-shirts and all kinds of fun stuff that that you can buy or whatever. So for over that 13-month period, over 100 reported sightings of the Mothman happened. There was so much info, so much descriptions. I just couldn't do them all. Going away from Point Pleasant in West Virginia, 2 weeks before the Chernobyl explosion, there was a Mothman sighting over the power plant in Chernobyl. Then in Minnesota, there was a bridge collapse on the I-35 where 13 people were killed. There was a Mothman sighting around that bridge as well. And this is the stuff that's going to really, really bring happiness to Red Buffalo. Some people may think that he is not a bad omen, but maybe he is a warning. Because in Freiburg, Germany, in September 10th of 1978, miners went down into a mine. They came face to face with the Mothman. They said, "Fuck this," and they all ran out of the mine. Barely making it, it collapsed, and all of those men would have been killed instantly if they stayed in the mine. So they call him the Freiburg Shrieker, and they take him as a warning. So if you see him, they think that he's going to protect you.
I feel like Gary means well.
Yes.
Right.
So there's been sightings even up until this day, but in 2017, 55 people reported seeing him flying over Chicago. So they have been sitting waiting for something bad to happen.
That was like a plane. They're so confused.
Yeah.
They're seeing shit.
And so also today on the Ohio side in Gallipolis, there is a Silver Bridge memorial. It is a plaque with all the names of the people that passed away. There is an eye bar, which is part of the bridge that's similar to the one that was fractured that made the bridge collapse. And it's just like a little cute little area where they say if you're ever in the area, visit Mothman, but also go and see the memorial and just give your respects to all the people that lost their lives that day. So there you go. There's the Mothman.
Yay! Good
Damn.
Mothman story.
Yeah,
I will 100% be having some nightmares.
Yeah. Well. I just love it because whenever there was a Mothman sighting, there was a UFO sighting. So people, like, some of the people are like, this is something that's not of this world. So it's kind of weird. Like, it's such a weird, bizarro story and so many different aspects that it can go to. But this, okay, so that Indrid cold person comes into the Mothman prophecy movie. There is a part, they talk a lot about this dude. So you'll like it. You'll like it when you see the movie.
Okay.
I'd watch it.
I gotta
really
see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta see it.
It's kind of slow, kind of, and it's kind of like you have to sit there and really intensely like pay attention to it. But I like movies like that make me think and make me wonder and use my brain. And it's great. It's not what I expected, which is good. I expected some stupid like monster movie, like it chasing people and making people scared, and it was nothing like that. But it was great. It was great. And Richard Gere was young and hot back in the day, so he was good. Yeah.
Yes, Richard Gere.
It's like around his Pretty Woman days. It's like around his Pretty Woman days. So yeah.
Where can we watch the Mothman prophecies?
I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I had to rent it for $3.99 for the HD version, or you can watch it for $2.99 for the SD version. But totally worth it.
All right.
Totally worth the $4. Yeah.
Awesome. I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna look into this Indrid Cole. I'm very interested in this.
After I edit tonight, I will send you a bunch of links to the stuff that I found.
Send me some links.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it on our little groupie chat.
Cool.
It's time.
It's time.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Badass story of the week. Woo-hoo. What you got for us,
guys?
Ray?
All right, so it's a little bit on the longer side for me, but it's really good. It actually made me kind of tear up, which is hard. to do. Just because I think because of where I come from, it really kind of hit home for me. So I'm going to name these two guys because I don't want them to get lost in the story. Oscar Gonzalez and a friend, Victor Dominguez. Okay. They were hosting a Father's Day barbecue for their families. They saw the ice cream cart guy, the paletero. They saw him pushing his cart on Father's Day. This old 70-year-old guy by the name of Rosario Del Real was working very hard. Remember now, he's 70 years old. It's Father's Day. He is a father, and he's working his ass off. So these two guys saw him and decided to invite him to the barbecue to visit with their family. And, you know, he's not used to taking a day off. He's used to working and providing for his family. He came here. So he came here in 1969, and then he became a citizen in 1979. He remembers his family being so poor that his only wish was for them to be able to eat a full meal every day. So he worked hard.
My heart.
He picked produce in California for many years. He worked on ranches and factories in Texas and Oregon. And then he finally settled in Chicago, and he bought a home. He raised 3 children with his wife, and they were able to pay off their house in 2015. Wow. Just because all is said and done and he could technically retire, he kept working.
Oh my gosh.
So these guys are like, what's up? You know, what's going on? And he said, you know, I'm not used to not working. He used to be a carpenter, and he had an accident. There's a video online where he shows the news reporter his 2 fingers, that he had like a really bad accident as a carpenter. My father-in-law is a carpenter. And it could happen. You know, my grandfather was a butcher, and he chopped off the whole finger, you know. Yeah, but he just kept working. You know, you don't stop just because you have an injury.
Wow.
So, I mean, not that day, but
right.
So, to top it all off, you know, the guys decided that they wanted him to enjoy Father's Day. So they purchased every single ice cream out of his cart that day.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
That's so cool.
They're amazing guys. They weren't done there. Okay. They started up a GoFundMe, and he got $62,000.
Oh, wow. No.
Yeah.
There are good people in the world.
There are good people in the world.
Bad asses.
So there's actually a small movement starting because it's just happened on Father's Day, and I've seen at least 2 hashtags like buy the whole cart. There's an MMA fighter that's promoting the buy the whole cart thing. And they're just saying, if you can,
the whole cart.
Yeah, if you can, promote it, help them. I don't know if you guys remember, like a couple years ago, there was another paletero that was like harassed, and they like broke his cart and they beat him up and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah, that was horrible. So we gotta, you know, they're hardworking men. They're not begging for money on the streets. You know, they're working their asses off.
Yes.
He was a citizen. He just was a carpenter that got injured and didn't want to like mooch off the economy, right? So kudos to Victor and his friend Oscar. You guys are badasses. I'm so excited. Something that was like really got to me too, again, as from coming from the Hispanic culture, was he said that one day he plans to return to Zacatecas, where he came from. And when he gets there, the first item on his agenda is to visit the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe to thank God for this blessing that he received.
Oh
Pretty awesome.
my gosh.
Yay.
That's a great badass story of the week. That's 2 badasses.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Good job, Dre. I got all the feels. I got goosebumps. Ooh,
Yeah, you guys got to see the video. I mean, it's it speaks in Spanish, but the video is like made me cry.
Okay. Oh,
awesome.
I don't speak Spanish. Oh, thank you. Oh my God, I love it.
You're welcome.
It's a good reminder that we can all help, and you never know when someone needs help.
Yeah,
you just need to start that conversation. dig a little deeper with people. Absolutely.
Yep.
100%. Good job, Dre. Good job, Timo.
Hey,
Thanks.
you guys did so great.
Cool.
All right.
Oh, are you doing homework or something?
I was actually sending you guys a text while
Okay. I was like,
while we're talking.
Oh my God. Okay, well, everyone can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have a website. I think it's called Handcuffs and Sage Podcast.com.
Right.
You can email us at handcuffsandsage@gmail.com. You can check out our Patreon page. And I actually have a surprise coming this week for Timo and Dre, and I can't wait for it to get here and so I can give it to you. I'm so excited.
What? Okay.
I'll drop it by this week. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Let me know because I have something for you too when you swing by.
Okay.
It's actually from Miss Amy's husband, but you know what it is. But I had it.
I know what it is. Is it drugs?
No. I'm not gonna spoil the surprise, but you'll be excited.
Okay, don't spoil it.
Shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh well, I forgot what I was gonna say. Isn't that unusual?
So odd.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
All right. Remember, we
do
what
we want.
and you should too, right? Everyone.
Right. Yes,
All
for sure.
right.
For sure.
Have a great week.
Okay. Good night, guys. Love ya.
Bye. Handcuffs and Sage is hosted by Red, Timo, and Dre in a shitty guest room in Los Angeles.
Theme music is Leave Now by We Are Wasted. Cover art done by Megan Winchester. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Show us some love on iTunes. Be a badass and do what you want. Until next time.